Hi, and welcome to the introduction to the 2026 report card for Minnesota's infrastructure, brought to you by the Minnesota and Duluth sections of the American Society of Civil Engineers. My name is Hannah Albertus Benham, and I am a civil engineer and a member of ASCE for over 20 years. I am the chair of the 2026 Minnesota Report Card Committee, and I'll be walking you through the report card. I'll start with a little bit about ASCE, what is the infrastructure report card, and finally, what are some of the key themes and takeaways from the 2026 report card? First, who is ASCE? Founded in 1952, ASCE is the nation's oldest civil engineering society. Through the expertise of our active membership, ASCE is a leading provider of technical and professional conferences and continuing education, the world's largest publisher of civil engineering content, and an authoritative source for codes and standards that protect the public. Our ASCE membership base in Minnesota is 1,700 members of the more than 160,000 members globally. The report card is ASCE's tool to examine current infrastructure conditions and needs, assign grades, and advise on the steps necessary to improve it while educating the public, industry leaders, and politicians. As part of our advocacy, every 4 years since 1998, ASCE has prepared a comprehensive assessment of the nation's major infrastructure categories in its infrastructure report card. The Minnesota and Duluth sections of ASCE have prepared a state report card every 4 years starting in 2018. You can see the prior Minnesota report and state report cards from across the country at infrastructurereportcard.org. We have over 40 experts on our committee covering 11 different infrastructure categories in Minnesota. These roles, along with all of our work at the local section level, are entirely volunteer-based beyond our jobs. And that is important so that the report card is an objective, third-party review of Minnesota's infrastructure. The infrastructure report card uses a simple A to F school report card format to provide an assessment of current infrastructure conditions and needs. These grades are assigned based on 8 criteria. Capacity: does the infrastructure's capacity meet current and future demands? Condition: what is the infrastructure's existing and near future physical condition? Funding: what is the current level of funding from all levels of government for the infrastructure category as compared to the estimated funding need? Future need: what is the cost to improve the infrastructure? Will future funding prospects address the need? Operation and maintenance: what is the owner's ability to operate and maintain the infrastructure properly? Public safety: to what extent is the public's safety jeopardized by the condition of the infrastructure, and what could be the consequences of failure? Resilience: what is the infrastructure system's capability to prevent or protect against significant multi-hazard threats and incidents? How able is it to quickly recover and reconstitute critical services with minimum consequences for public safety and health, the economy, and national security? Finally, innovation: what new and innovative techniques, materials, technologies, and delivery methods are being implemented to improve the infrastructure? We worked for almost a year on research, analysis, and writing. ASCE's Committee on America's Infrastructure, the volunteer committee preparing each national report card, reviews each state report card. That review lends the expertise of more than 50 civil engineers and infrastructure professionals from around the country with expertise across the 18 categories to provide a wider view of Minnesota's infrastructure compared to that of the nation. Our journey began late in 2024, but in earnest January 2025. The team was assembled with a kickoff led by the National Society on May 1st. Research and writing followed in the fall, including a survey where we heard from municipalities, agencies, and others about the status of their infrastructure. Drafts went through review by the Committee on America's Infrastructure, and by early spring, the final drafts were taking shape. Final edits and design was completed for the printing and release of an infrastructure report card on April 30th, 2026. This timeline shows how we achieved the updated report card, but that is only the beginning or renewal of the advocacy cycle, which I'll get back to later. The 2026 report card for Minnesota's infrastructure covered 11 of the 18 possible infrastructure categories. These were aviation, bridges, dams, drinking water, energy, ports, public parks, roads, transit, and wastewater. And this year we've added the stormwater category. The cumulative grade for the 2026 report card for Minnesota's infrastructure is a C. This reflects the targeted investments which slowed down declining conditions and produced a few modest gains. But aging assets, inflation, and deferred maintenance continue to outpace funding. Systems are sliding from good to fair, which raises long-term costs and risks. This table shows some of the trends across the 3 Minnesota infrastructure report cards since 2018. I'll briefly touch on a few categories. Aviation went from a B to a B-, a slight dip in our most advanced category, an indicator of concern. What helped was strong asset management through programs such as MnDOT's ACIP and MnSASP. For aviation, we see a well-managed system that is financially constrained but not physically failing. For drinking water, it stayed the same at a C-. Some things that helped include significant funding for lead service line replacement near complete inventories, an increased safe drinking water fee to offset higher costs, and a record of strong compliance with federal health standards. Things that brought down the grade are the aging systems, many as old as 50 to over 100 years. The drinking water revolving fund demand far exceeding sustainable lending capacity, and declining water use and rural population loss, causing reduced revenue for providers. Overall, drinking water has seen regulatory success with financial stress. Public parks remained high at a B-. The main drivers for success in our public parks are legacy amendment funding, strong metro funding tools such as St. Paul's Common Scent and Minneapolis's NPP 20, and our parks have national top rankings for access and equity. However, ongoing concerns remain, such as a massive deferred maintenance backlog at state parks and expansion of parks, which is stressing already underfunded operation and maintenance budgets. Overall, our public parks have strong local success stories, but we have a state system that remains fragile. When we look at the report across all categories, some of the common challenges that can be seen include infrastructure aging faster and funding not keeping up, lack of stable funding sources, workforce shortages, which are plaguing all engineering and construction practices, resilience not being prioritized, and regulations changing, adding complexity to project planning and budgets. Things that are creating successes across categories are infrastructure owners being proactive about asset management, accumulating a diverse set of funding sources, as well as investing early to minimize costs in the long term. Each category chapter in the report has its own specific recommendations. Here, those recommendations have been synthesized into 5 overall recommendations. These are the qualities that get good grades. Dedicated and sustainable funding. Streamlining processes or removing barriers while prioritizing innovative materials and methods. Strong asset management programs, not only to know what is there, but how to plan and adapt for the future. Incorporating resilience measures into all projects. And finally, strengthening our workforce and public engagement go hand in hand. A public who is educated about infrastructure issues will realize the value of the jobs that support our infrastructure. And we need public support to expand training programs and improve wages and working conditions. I'd like to take a moment to thank our volunteers, especially the chapter leads shown here. Their countless hours and dedication are what made this report possible. But the story does not end there. The report card is a tool, and now that our latest state report card is complete, it's go time. ASCE members are keeping the narrative going, providing free chapter spotlight webinars to dive into each chapter once a month. Conferences, state capitol drive-ins, and legislative hearings are on the horizon as well. ASCE also has model legislation that can be tailored and introduced locally. At the national level, ASCE organizes a U.S. legislative fly-in annually and provides real-time calls to action to those members who are part of the Key Alert Advocacy Program. If you'd like to learn more about the report card, please visit infrastructurereportcard.org/Minnesota. To get involved or sign up for the upcoming chapter spotlights, please visit ascemn.org and feel free to reach out to me at reportcard@ascemn.org. Our chapter spotlights are ongoing and recorded. Sign up to attend live to ask questions of our report card writers, or check back at our website to access the recordings posted each month. Thank you for your time and interest in the 2026 ASCE report card for Minnesota's infrastructure.